A joint press conference at the White House between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The two leaders now exiting the room there. They were discussing the situation in Gaza, including who would control the enclave and the possibility of relocating Palestinians as Gaza is rebuilt. Trump saying that the United States will, quote, take over the Gaza Strip. He went on to say, we will own it, calling it a place of death and destruction. He was asked by NBC's Kelly O'Donnell at one point about the possibility of the U.S. taking over a sovereign territory, and he told her, I do see a long-term ownership, calling it a decision that has not been made lightly. When asked by another reporter if the United States should send troops into Gaza, he said, we will do what is necessary. If necessary, we will. For more on this, I want to bring in NBC News senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. Kelly, pick things up for me. Walk through what you have heard in that room and the response you got from President Trump as you asked him that question about the sovereignty of Gaza.
Well, it's an extraordinary unfolding of events, and rarely, if ever, in my long career covering this is my fifth administration, have I heard such an unusual policy shift articulated by a president standing side by side with another leader that could dramatically change world events. The president is saying, without explanation for what the legal method would be, that the United States of America would take over Gaza. That is a sovereign territory right now. How would that happen? He did not suggest that this would be by military force. He talked about rehabilitation, rebuilding, construction, and then making it a world city. I also asked the prime minister, who, of course, has at times been very careful. He's been going through a war, of course, but one of his primary goals is to bring peace to his people. But he has also lived through many discussions of a two-state solution where Palestinians and Israelis could live side by side in peace. He seemed open to the idea of adopting President Trump's unusual, in fact, unprecedented idea to take over Gaza. Now, we're still processing all of this. When you think about the other implications, for example, when the United States went into Iraq in 2003, which was the result of the 9/11 bombing and other activities, first Afghanistan, then Iraq. The United States having occupation in Iraq also spawned a lot of terrorism against the United States. There were certainly views of Saudi Arabians that the United States should not be in that part of the world in an occupying way. So there are so many levels of foreign policy, potential conflicts, new questions from this. But basically what Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying, this is a fresh new idea that should be considered. President Trump saying this could be, and these are his words, the Riviera of the Middle East by having reconstruction, safety, and many questions about the displacement of Gazans right now. Where would they go? And he talked about neighboring countries like Jordan and Egypt and building new communities there for safety. But again, this is the forced relocation of Palestinians. So there is just so much here that we are just beginning to try to process this. Clearly, the president wants to shake things up. This suggestion, this policy idea is going to have reverberations around the world. It's a stunning moment here in the East Room.
And Kelly, I was struck by when another reporter asked him about if the United States would consider sending troops there to secure the power vacuum. The president leaving that door open, saying if it is necessary. Is that something that had been discussed or talked about at all prior to this moment? The idea that we could, in some form or fashion, possibly be considering having some sort of military presence, not just near Gaza, but possibly inside of that territory?
No, it has not been talked about. And in fact, when the October 7th attacks happened, it was made very clear from Israel to the United States that Israelis would fight for their land with the support of the United States. And there's been significant military support. But there was never discussion. This is not a NATO situation with Article 5, where when there is an attack on Israel, the United States with troops would go there. So we are in new terrain in geopolitics, and President Trump couple of weeks in office, in his second term, is talking about a really extraordinary idea that challenges the legal authority of the United States and its ability to do this. Certainly will have implications for all of the countries in that area, and very much so for the people of Israel as well as the Palestinians who have endured the war along with the Israelis. There's been a lot of death and a lot of destruction. So what comes next? We have many more questions. But the president put this forward. He repeated it. He worked it out in real time. And clearly, Benjamin Netanyahu is supportive, at least at this stage, of further consideration of what is, again, an extraordinary idea put forth by the United States and President Trump.
I mean, a stunning press conference and moment in so many ways in terms of this idea of relocating Palestinians from Gaza as it is being rebuilt. President Trump saying other neighboring wealthy countries could participate and pay for that. Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, but last I saw it, it was just 3 days ago, there was a letter, a joint statement that was released from officials from Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, the Palestinian Authority, and the Arab League, where they rejected the idea of moving Palestinians out of Gaza, saying that it would threaten the region's stability and risk expanding the conflict and undermine prospects for peace. Has any country publicly said that they would be willing to take in Palestinians in the immediate future, or publicly said they would support this idea of resettling Palestinians from Gaza?
Well, this is part of what has been the long and at times desperate story of the Palestinian people. Other Arab and Muslim nations in the region have not embraced the Palestinian people and helped them at many times. And these other nations are not stepping forward. So basically what we've seen is President Trump using a live event like this side by side with Benjamin Netanyahu to put forward this idea. Now, not on phone calls, not on ministerial level conversations, but to put it out there as the President of the United States on the world stage and to see what sticks. You heard him say that he believes that other nations like Egypt, like Jordan, would be providing land, would be open to doing that in further conversations. The King of Jordan is coming to the White House. We are in a moment here where we are on the fly. That is not a place where I'm typically comfortable. Normally, we are steeped in these issues and know the way around the corners. This is such a stunning announcement that we are processing it as we speak. And in the cacophony of all of my colleagues here who are also reporting on this, what has been a stunning turn of events here in the East Room.
Well, Kelly O'Donnell, we appreciate you being there to help guide us through this moment. We will stay on top of it and continue to check in with you as we get our head around what has happened here tonight. Kelly O'Donnell at the White House, thank you. We appreciate it. I will remind viewers, May 14th is when Israel celebrates their Independence Day, but May 15th, the day after that, Palestinians call it Nakba Day. It means the catastrophe in Arabic. They see it as a somber day of remembrance when they say in 1948 they lost the Palestinian state and a lot of their culture and were forced to leave what they say are their lands.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.